Here we are. Sorry, we're running just a couple minutes late here. Jamie has eating food. He's had a busy ass day, so we had to get some food in his mouth. So, hello, welcome to Spotfest. Jamie's over there. Austin's down below. I am JJ. We are going to get you through a lot of news going on.
Did you just call Austin a bottom?
I'm not going to neither confirm nor deny that.
Just real quick aside, since you mentioned that, I did see something on Instagram like a day or two ago that pointed out that like 90% of the Attitude Era was just dudes calling other dudes bottoms.
Pretty much. And Jamie's laughing because we went to high school during that era, so
oh God, that's so true though.
That's kind of how it was.
Like that hit a nerve because it's so accurate.
Oh, it's one of them days, guys. Hey, thank you for watching. Thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. We do appreciate you guys giving us some of your time. If you're in with us live, hello, welcome. It's your first time here. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button down below. If you're listening, you could definitely always
gently caress it today.
We're gonna gently caress the like and the subscribe buttons. Okay,
I hammered that shit. I just went hard on the like button.
I'm just going to stare at it from across the room and hope it recognizes me. Wow, we just said a lot about ourselves there in 30 seconds.
Sure did, bud.
But always on Twitter at Total Spotfest. So how are you gentlemen doing? We were talking a little football before we get in. This isn't a football podcast. We're not going to get into it. But moral of the story is fantasy football was not great on the Total Spotfest boys this week. We'll just say that.
F the Giants.
Not great, which is why we're not discussing much football on the show today. In a really quick football note, something that was good for somebody on the show, I saw University of Missouri picked up another win. They knocking off ranked Kansas State, I think it was.
61-yard dead. I mean, this kicker drives me crazy. He shanks a 34-yarder, but 61 yards with leg to boot dead straight. Hey. Cool.
You know what? Don't worry. Your coaching will get in the way of you shortly because that's your problem. It's not the talent.
We'll see about it. I mean,
whereas our coaching is stellar, we just don't have talent.
Yeah, getting that thriller in Reno, Nevada.
Hey, whatever. We have a chance of being ranked. We're the 26th team right now.
We're gonna see it. We'll see in 2 weeks when you go up against Texas. So.
Who just beat Bama? I feel so confident about that game.
Anyway, it'll be interesting. No, it was an interesting, fun time. And see, what happens is, Austin, I know you're not huge into college football necessarily, right? A lot of, like loyalty for one or the other, but right. Not from around the area naturally. But this is what Missouri does to us. Okay, all right. So we got hype, we get hope, got good recruiting classes here. This is what's going on. It hasn't quite paid off, but it's okay. We're doing the Stoops thing. We're giving him time to matriculate, and then there's some infuriating losses. Then we get one big win, and now we're gonna have our hearts ripped out through our eyeballs somehow over the next 3 months. That's just how it goes. And then basketball season is going to start. It's going to be the same thing in basketball. It's an endless cycle of self-depravity. M-I-Z.
So speaking of bottoms, I think you're going to be LSU's bottom here in a week or two.
Oh yeah, LSU. Hey, we could be 5-0 by LSU. That'll be a moral victory. We'll take that. Well, that's enough. That's enough. Well, we were just deprecating the fuck out of JJ today. Oh my god, what are we doing?
SSDD.
Let's talk about some wrestling, because this is a wrestling podcast. I want to give a shout out. Hey Heather, how you doing over there in chat? If you are in chat, like I said, chime in. It's a little delayed. We'll get to you though, absolutely. So we appreciate you guys for joining us. Grand Slam was tonight. We're going to talk about that, but my lord, there's a lot of news going on the other side of the greater metropolitan area up there in New York. I'm talking about WWE stuff happening here. So, Jamie, you want to talk about a little Fed news?
Yeah, I mean, I don't, but I do. I do. So, as we all know, they are officially part of TKO now. That is
what they're going by.
Yeah, it's the combination of UFC and WWE. So they're under the
kind of smart.
Yeah, it's on point. Yeah, I gotta give them a lot of points here. But because of that, there was mass layoffs at the headquarters. 3 execs, and one of them was so shocked, but everybody said that person was a complete cancer, and it made everybody feel better when they were gone. But that's not the big news, ladies and gentlemen. The big news, shocker, I don't know if anybody saw this, but Vince McMahon may be forced to step down as WWE chairman due to federal government investigations.
I mean,
did we already say this a few
I was going to say,
months back?
Does this sound like a rerun to you, Austin?
Yeah. I will believe that Vince McMahon is taken down by the federal government when he's in prison and it happens. I feel like if you hit 80 and you've avoided the federal government for this long through all the many times they've come after him for various things, I just got to assume he's bulletproof at this point, but we'll see.
You know, I mean, the whole Endeavor, TKO, whatever they're going by now thing, everybody was joyous because it was like, oh, this is going to be the end of the McMahon family running the company. And I'm like, is it though? And then it's like, this news comes out and I go, what was it? Was it about a year ago, give or take, Jamie?
Yeah, that's when I actually started watching again.
Yeah,
and then I'm back off of it.
Yeah, about a year ago, the exact same thing just happened, because that's when all the scandal stuff happened and all that stuff. And now you're talking about federal government, which, let's be honest, okay, guys, did Vince McMahon, did he probably break some rules and do some shady stuff?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, everybody knows it. Yes.
Mighty Mole used to work out with Billy Jack Haynes.
That's rad.
That's really cool. Well, welcome, Mighty Mole. That is, yeah.
That's better than what we're talking about. That's for sure. So I don't know,
so yeah, I don't know if Senior McMahon will go or not. He might
shadow
to his private island, outside of Cuba.
It'll be like his 2-month vacation, and then by New Year's he'll be back amazingly, right? In a less than expanded role, and eventually he'll be running creative by SummerSlam.
I heard I don't know if it'd quite be called a conspiracy theory, but something along those lines.
I'm here for it. Let's go.
That the whole point of the sale was so he could get back in control. Because after he was forced to step down by the board, they were never going to let him run the company again. So he's like, well, I still control over half it. I'll just sell it to people that will let me run it anyway. It sounds like something Vince McMahon would do. Don't know how much truth there is to it, but because it doesn't really matter one way or the other, I'm going to believe it.
And to Jamie's point from a couple weeks ago, this is the same company that, a week after Joe Rogan punched the crap out of his wife, or was it wife or whatever?
It was that slapped his wife in public.
Slapped his wife, and then they gave him a slapping competition TV show on network television.
Yeah.
Not network, cable television, but still.
He was just promoting his new show.
He didn't even give you an apology. He's like, I have to live with people knowing I did that. That's punishment enough. And then everyone just kind of shrugged, because what more do you expect of the guy that organizes people fighting each other for money? Like,
Touche.
Yeah.
I do know that, there's some other Fed news that's going on. So it's about that time of year. We get it a couple times a year where they do the tryouts, for NXT, for the do they still call it the Performance Center? I don't know. Whatever it is.
I think so.
It's still the Performance Center, yeah.
I like to change it to the Capital Wrestling Center during the pandemic, and I don't know. But anyway, before the PC tryouts and all that stuff, notable names on there. I know that Valentina Feroz was on there. Jasmine Allure was on there. Maddie Rinkowski, both in from Thunder Rosa's promotion down in Texas, their female promotion. They've done a lot of this stuff in there, so that's cool for them. Brogan Finley was on there, who, I still say that's their long play to get Billy Starks, right? Get her boyfriend, and then we'll get her, right? And a few others I didn't recognize, but of course the big name in all that is the very quick into the speculation of the conversation we had last week, because Jade Cargill is getting a preferred tryout. She basically has a contract already, with.
Yeah. I heard it wasn't even a tryout. Like, she signed.
I heard like it's not like official, but I don't know. This is a few days ago, so who knows? But Jade Cargill back for one night only, apparently, in AEW.
Yeah,
a decent match last Friday against Chris Statlander. Statlander retained. And she's bowing away from the company and going to get that Fed money for the eventual WrestleMania main event of Jade Cargill versus Charlotte Flair, right?
probably. That seems like the way they would go, and I imagine Charlotte would beat her, because that's what they do.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think I don't know if it's official, like has been announced, but from everything I've heard, like, the deal's done. She's getting a little bit more money than they normally bring people in with, and they have already started creative plans. Because why wouldn't you? That is just a star when they appear on your show. Yeah. Now, when you said the big name from the signings, I thought you were talking about Brian Pillman Jr.
Yeah.
Oh, I missed Brian Pillman Jr. I'm sorry.
He's been there for a while, though. He signed. Has he appered on NXT yet?
I haven't watched it.
I was mostly just joking, because nobody gives a shit about Brian Pillman Jr.
I didn't even.
I think I did hear that, like a month or two ago, that they had signed him. I just thought it'd be funny because everyone already forgot.
Nobody cared. Nobody loves you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
But yeah, no, Jade jumped over to WWE, or is imminently going to. And of course, the fine folks of wrestling Twitter were very level-headed about it and didn't say stupid things. But the opposite of stupid things would be knowledgeable things.
And I am all about knowledgeable things. Jamie, I do want to say, first of all, your mustache looks very nice.
It's not the best.
It's not the best. It can get better. And if it does get better, I think the only thing that will make it get better is a little stash of knowledge.
I think a lot of stash of knowledge.
It's been proven to make facial hair grow.
That's the catchphrase.
60% of the time, works
knowledge
every time.
Proven to make facial hair grow. Oh.
Works every time. Nice. See, he worked a movie quote in, ladies and gentlemen.
Look at
I'm
that.
not the only one.
Jamie's doing music quotes. Austin's doing movie quotes. Look at us. We're just spreading
Dropping
around
knowledge
like
and stealing people's gimmicks.
We're just going all over the place like herpes at a frat party. All right.
He's move stealing right now. Move stealing.
All about that heel shit. So hey, let's do it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So we got Jade Cargill jumping ship to New York, as they like to say. as you had mentioned, JJ, we were talking about speculation. What do you do with Jade now that she's back?
Well,
Does she win the TBS title? Turns out, no. But it is super rad that she came in, she put Statlander over, clean in a full match before leaving as the only thing she did. Like, she could have easily just been like, no, I'm out. No, she came back. She did business the right way. We are obviously in a very tribal age of pro wrestling where
unfortunately
people don't like to cross that aisle. And I assume if social media would have been a thing in the WWF WCW days, it would have been very similar. But this is the first jump. Like, we've had people leave WWE and there's been speculation, are they going to AEW? Some showed up, and it's always been like mostly bigger former indie name guys and like guys you want to see in AEW, but we really haven't seen anything go the other way.
Right.
And Jade jumping ship, first of all, best possible scenario for all parties involved, really.
Yeah.
Jade Cargill is a WWE attraction.
Yes.
That is the platform and the stage where Jade Cargill can shine the best.
Yeah.
She doesn't have to go out there and have really good wrestling matches. Not that she's just bad or anything, but that's not the focal point. And especially with the women in WWE, outside of last few years, we've gotten a Mania women's match that was 5 stars, as good as you could want it to be. But outside of that, throughout the year, you're getting shorter matches on Raw or SmackDown or whatever. Your pay-per-view matches are getting like 8 to 10 most of the time and all that. But again, she looks like a star in a way WWE can make her shine a lot more than AEW could. They're very good at just really throwing everything behind somebody just to make them seem like that big of a deal. But on a larger note, I would like to see more of this going forward, back and forth between both companies. I miss the 90s, and that's why I talk about rewatching a lot of certain 90s all the time.
Okay.
But I remember being in, junior high school, and just thinking it was the coolest thing ever when I saw someone that I'd only ever known as a WCW guy show up on WWF or vice versa. It's such a good way to keep people fresh. And I'm hoping this is kind of the beginning of this happening a little bit more often where, maybe 5 years, 6 years down the road, we've seen a couple people jump over to one company, come back a little bit later. Like that was the old territory model. You did a 6 to 12 month run and then you moved to another territory. You worked in front of some different people with some other talent and you came back later on. So I'm 100% on board with Jade jumping ship. And I hope we get to see some more people move around. Wardlow is another one I wouldn't mind WWE getting a crack at. I think he is very much in what they want a lot of the time. But this whole thing did make me think of a question I want to pitch to the two of you.
All right.
And I have my own answer for this. Imagine these two companies could trade contracts like your regular sports leagues. And WWE was sending a female talent back to AEW. Who would y'all want them to send?
Who do we want, or who do we think they would sign the deal for?
Who would you want them to send over in return for Jade Cargill?
Io Sky. I'm sorry, was that too fast? I'm sorry.
No. I'm just asking y'all who y'all would like to see, who y'all think would do really well in AEW. I mean, outside of, I would say Io counts. I would say Asuka doesn't, because Asuka would do great anywhere, and everyone would like to see Asuka anywhere they could get him. But
I think Io would do great anywhere too, but I think that's more my personal choice.
I think she would do great in AEW.
Yeah, that's like low hanging fruit.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick him. That's just JJ wanting to see Io Sky in AEW. Let me think of a different one.
Yeah, I've got a little bit deeper cut one as mine, but I want to hear y'all's.
Jamie, do you have somebody in mind?
Yeah. So like if they were to send somebody, AEW would want somebody who can do it all, could talk, could wrestle, and is pleasant to the eye for the Neanderthal men and the Neanderthal women. and nondescript Neanderthals. Cover our bases.
Now that's a fantasy football league team right there. Nondescript Neanderthals.
So I would say you would need somebody of that ilk. So I mean, Rhea Ripley would of course fit that, but I feel like the perfect person to do it would be from the same lineage that her father did the same thing multiple times. And I'm going to say Charlotte Flair.
Ooh.
That makes a lot of sense because her dad went between WWE, NWA, AWA, WCW. Like, he was all over the place. Why not her?
That's an interesting one. I don't know how well Charlotte works with a lot of the AEW roster.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the matches would still be fine. I kind of think the same thing of Rhea as well. I think the matches would be great. Charlotte and Rhea, to me, kind of like Jade, almost seem too big for the AEW women's roster.
Okay.
Just the height and the size is there. My answer, I'm going the opposite of you, Jamie. Instead of thinking like someone that's already got it all, I'm looking at someone that I think has the in-ring talent and would really shine in AEW with the roster they have. And I would, if I'm making this trade and send someone back over, I would send Zoe Stark.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I like that.
I think there's a lot of really good matches for Zoe Stark in AEW where she would get to actually wrestle. Not that she has an all-time WWE, but since going up from NXT to the main roster, you don't get that same style of match. I would like to see Zoe Stark have a run in AEW.
That's a good one. I said I did pick low hanging fruit just because Jay didn't want to see it, but I'm gonna give you an answer that I think that if I think about this, you're talking about trade wise, right? And we're doing a straight up trade, so it's got to be of equal propensity is what I'm looking at. I feel like Charlotte, Becky Lynch, Rhea Ripley are off the table because WWE views them too highly to include them. I think they look at Jade Cargill, who's not in the world title picture in AEW ever, as maybe that next rung, is what they're, and AEW is coming in this as like the New York Yankees, right? Trying to, they're trying to flex their might, a little bit. So they're not going to put one of the top tier stars, even though Jade Cargill was poster woman for the company for a while. I don't think they'd go with the big fish, but I do think they'd go right below it. And I think AEW, Tony Khan, he's a bit of a mark, so you want to get somebody that he would mark out about and that the fans would have a great reaction to as well. I want to say Bayley.
Actually, I think that would be a really good one. I think we've seen about everything there is to see of Bayley in WWE. Not that like she's necessarily stale or anything, but she's feuded with everybody. She's had titles. Like, what is there really to do outside of like, a main event WrestleMania that's on everyone's bucket list and all that? But
right.
Generally speaking, I think Bayley would be a really good one to send over. I think she could have a really good run in AEW. When you were talking about equal value, though, I do want to amend my answer slightly. I think if they're sending Jade over, I think just getting Zoe Stark back, great prospects, but I think you need to up it to even values.
That pot a little bit.
I would do Zoe Stark and Piper Niven.
I love Piper.
I would love to see Piper in AEW.
I would love to see her as Piper Niven too.
Yeah, absolutely. I was not super high. Now, I had seen a lot of her stuff. I think it was last year's Royal Rumble. Might have been this year's, but I think it was last year's. Her and Becky Lynch had a phenomenal 10 to 12 minute match for the women's title at one of those Royal Rumbles. And that really turned me around on Piper Niven. I hadn't seen much of her work, but she can go, and I think she would do phenomenal AEW as well.
It's awesome. Well, I mean, I think Jade. I think this was a good. I think this was a good result for everybody. I did like how AEW, was very cordial with the exit of her. They're very, very professional with it. That's where she wanted to go. They were very professional with Cody too, for what it's worth. And to your point, those are the two who have really gone over. Cody's not a big surprise because Cody's been back and forth, right?
Yeah.
But I think there should be some. If you don't mind, and I know we're gonna get into Grand Slam here in just a moment, guys, but I want to just kind of ask you guys a follow up on this question here. Okay. Give me a men's trade that you want to see. You already made mention of Wardlow you like to see over at AEW or WWE. Give me a man in AEW that you want to send over to WWE, and a man WWE you want to then reciprocate, come back to AEW. Could be fit, could be personal preference, could be anything you want. Who would you send each way? Who?
Wardlow for Pete Dunne.
Ooh.
I mean that just screams, yeah.
I think that's a perfect, hey, we could do more with him. You could do more with this guy. Let's just switch them up. Neither one's super important to either company right now. I know Dunn still he's been doing the NXT. They're doing some tournament. I see clips on Twitter. I don't actually watch.
I don't know what they're doing NXT. But Becky Lynch is apparently an NXT champion now. Who knew that?
Yeah,
and she talks in rhyming. I saw that. That was one of the worst promos I think I've ever seen in my life. Yeah.
But yeah, I know Pete Dunne. He's still getting, or Butch, as they're calling him now. He's still getting his spots. He's a good hand for the company, but I think there would be some phenomenal matches for him in AEW that you're not going to get the same quality of wrestling in WWE because he's not going to be with the opponents that can do that.
So I would do, in the same ilk, Brian Cage. Brian Cage fits the description of what Senior McMahon looks for.
I dislike you very much right now, but keep going.
and I would have them send back Ricochet.
Ooh.
I think Ricochet fits what they do.
Yeah.
A lot better.
I think Ricochet would be to the AEW crowd. Maybe not as much like all wrestling fans in general, but I think to the AEW crowd, I think Ricochet would be up there with the big deal signings you could get if you were to sign someone away. Outside of obviously KO and Sami Zayn, people wanted them in AEW before people want to see them with the indie darlings and all that. But Ricochet is one of those ones that's been in the WWE system so long that you've kind of forgotten about him a little bit. And what he can really do when he's having singles matches against the other kind of people like to have those kind of matches. Yeah, I think Ricochet for Brian Cage would be a real solid trade.
So I'm not necessarily going to go straight up 1-to-1 here because I think that, this is what I would like to see. Okay. Brian Cage was one, so it's a package deal from AEW. So you take in several people who fit the bill of WWE, right? So Brian Cage and Wardlow is what my thought was. Both of those guys I feel like are kind of WWE style guys, right? They can go into there, right? So we're giving you two, and we need one in return. And by one, I want the phenomenal one, AJ Styles.
Ooh.
I didn't know. I had never even thought about AJ Styles in AEW because he is such a WWE guy now, which is weird because I think at this point he's had a longer run in WWE than he did in TNA.
He has. And he was Mr. TNA.
I think AJ being the guy to be Mr. TNA, obviously he did, his Japan stuff as well. To get to the top in WWE, I would love to see him have a run on top in AEW as well. I would like to see that for AJ, just to be the guy everywhere.
Yep, and especially once Bryan Danielson leaves, you got a spot up on the top there for somebody. And they would play his old intro music, and I would shit my pants. I'd be so happy. It would be
the ultimate ace. He'd be the ultimate ace.
He'd be the ultimate
if he did
ace.
that.
I mean,
yeah, that would be phenomenal.
So that's why I say package deal, and you can throw other people in if you want to do it. But yeah, so
real quick, Heather said, Pete Dunne's one of her favorite indie wrestlers. Fun fact, JJ and I saw Pete Dunne. We were in the front row. I had Megan with me, young Megan. And he literally, it was at NXT house show, literally came around, took pictures with everybody. like on the ringside, like grabbed our phone, did the whole thing. It was such a cool moment for her. She actually got Kyle O'Reilly's
his sweaty shirt.
His sweaty Undisputed Era shirt. It says dripping in gold. That's when they had all the belts. Like they had the tag team belts, the North American belt, and the championship belt. They had all of them. They're just dripping in gold.
All the UE except for Adam Cole.
I mean, I don't keep up with NXT anymore anyway, but that little run when they were touring with house shows was so good. We went to one down in Houston and we got DIY versus the Revival, and they went like 40 minutes and it was fantastic.
I mean, we had Pete Dunne, we had Matt Riddle, NXT Matt Riddle,
young Rhea Ripley tag teaming with Candice LeRae going up against Raquel Gonzalez and somebody else.
Ty Mello.
Ty Conti.
Was she Ty Conti still at the time? I don't remember what name she was.
She was Tainara Conti.
We opened the show with Keith Lee versus Dominik Dijakovic.
That's a solid match.
That's a pay-per-view match we saw as the opener. Was it a Daijo? It was Daijo, wasn't it?
I don't think it was Daijo.
It wasn't Daijo. It was a banger, whatever it was. So some of
I have to look through my pictures because I know I got pictures of it.
This has been Stash of Knowledge. We're getting way off topic here. This is a lot of fun. This is what I want to come back here. Heather alrea's got a trade in mind here. She wants to see Finn Balor back with Bullet Club Gold.
I mean, sign me up.
Give me that.
Finn and AEW would be fantastic as well. I mean, that's almost another one of those obvious ones, though, which is weird that AJ wasn't for me. Like, that never came to mind. And then once I heard it, I was like, I need it. But Finn, like, I immediately think, like, well, of course he'd be great in AEW. Like, why wouldn't he?
It's funny you brought that up because I started thinking about that because over this past Thursday was the thousandth. Wow. Hey, numbers and words are hard. 1000th episode of Impact 1000, which included a bunch of it was really cool. I've only watched it twice thus far, but it has
beautiful people, hardcore country.
Hardcore country, Team 3D back together. Had a bunch of throwbacks, and I was just thinking, AJ, and it literally hit in my brain. AJ and AEW, how amazing would that be? If you all of a sudden, you hear at the end of All Out next year, or All In, or wherever, right? Bryan Danielson's retiring, he's walking away, he leaves, and whoever's opponent is left in the ring there is causing a ruckus against everybody, and all of a sudden you just hear the "Get ready to fly," boom, and here comes AJ Styles. It's a pipe dream, I know, but still.
Just hopefully they don't do what WWE did and then hit the music and immediately cut away from the entrance ramp so you don't actually see them walk out.
Well,
a very thing.
Anyway, this is a lot of fun. Speaking of a lot of fun, did you guys have a lot of fun watching Grand Slam?
I had some fun watching Grand Slam.
That's what my thought was. It was fun. Okay. Third edition of Grand Slam. Jamie, let's go through it, man.
So the first match, last match, and then one of the middle matches, one word describes those matches. That's pretty simple. Brutal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then you have the other two matches, and those were brutal in a completely different way.
I was hoping you were going there. Yeah.
Oh, I made dinner during that second match. Don't you worry, Heather. It was like that was my kitchen time match.
Oh man, that's
how you want to do this? You want to go straight through? Or you want to bounce around? What you want to do?
Can we just pull the Band-Aid off and knock out the one no one gave a shit about first? Because
absolutely,
even just bringing it up, I'm already just like, ugh. And I don't want to get really high about the first match and come right back down there again. So let's jump right into the second match of the evening, if y'all don't mind.
Chris
I'm right
Jericho,
there with
Sammy
you.
Guevara.
Yeah,
Because of
so
things.
Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara. God, this match was so god
It was
awful,
so
man.
boring.
I just did not care. And the thing was too, like I was listening to it. Like I had earbuds in, so I was really intimate with the sounds. And the crowd
Nobody
gave
cared.
two
Nobody cared.
shits about that whole thing. It was just
Nobody
whatever. And then in the end, Sammy joins Don Callis's family, I guess.
Maybe?
Yeah.
Jericho won, though. Jericho won.
Who cares?
I think the worst part about this match was the stuff afterwards means this isn't over yet.
Oh, no. They go to hug it out, and then there's a low blow, and here comes Don
And you know,
Callis.
you get I can respect the callback to WrestleMania 19 when Jericho kicked Shawn Michaels in the nuts after their match.
Sure.
What would have saved this whole segment and this whole storyline for me would have been if you get Don Callis coming out. And once I see Don Callis coming out, I'm immediately like slightly more interested than I've been in the prior 15 minutes because the match was not good. The story was not good. Nobody cared who won because no one wanted either guy to win.
They won this match in their eyeballs.
We were just like, cool, let's blow this off here. Let's move on to other things and be done with this. And then I see Don Callis coming out, and I have the faintest glimmer of hope. And there was almost no chance this was actually going to happen, and it didn't. But all I wanted in the world was for Don Callis to come out, congratulate Sammy Guevara, and be like, I've got a surprise for you for taking care of this tonight. And then Takeshita just comes out and beats the shit out of Sammy Guevara, and Don Callis looks at Sammy and is like, you just lost. Why would I want you in the family? And then they walk out, and then they're done with that too. But no, now we're going to get more Sammy Guevara and Chris Jericho.
Unfortunately.
And now we're slowly roping Don Callis into this even more when there's a million other more interesting things he could be doing.
I will say the one part about this that I liked, the only part about this entire bit storyline before or after that I liked, was backstage when Renee's trying to get a word with Don Callis. And he's like, no, all will be revealed on Friday, right? And then they bump into Daniel Garcia, who Don's been courting. And Daniel Garcia and Sammy are like two pit bulls passing down the street by the, going at each other. And Don's trying to be all in the middle because he wants both the guys. That's the only part of this I actually cared about. I'm like, okay, this I like because I've seen these two wrestle, and that's worth watching. That's it.
Yeah, I'd be good with Sammy versus Daniel Garcia. Just separate Sammy and Chris Jericho. And that was really quick. That was the other thing about this match that was such a who cares, I guess is the best way to put it. So the whole story was Sammy's been learning from Chris Jericho for 4 years, and he's got to beat Chris Jericho, and he's got to go be the man he knows he's destined to be that Chris Jericho has been turning him into. But then you just get beat by Chris Jericho. So like has Sammy Guevara being like mentored for 4 years just been a waste of fucking time? Like
Separate
just
everyone
hit
in Chris
zero
Jericho.
level.
That's my sentiments exactly, Heather.
Yeah.
Exactly. Jamie, you're the Jerichoholic on the dais here.
I am. I 100% am. And I can think of nothing more than I want for this to be over.
Well, if they just listen to us and make him the GM on one of these shows, right? That's it. There you go. He's TV time, and we don't have to see him wrestle.
You know what?
This.
Get him off TV for like a few months. Like they should have done this, had Callis and Takeshita, everybody just come out and straight murder Chris Jericho. And he's written off TV for months. And then he can make his illustrious return at Revolution or something like that. Does this countdown clock shit that he always does. Everybody's excited to see him. He gets a quick pop, does a retirement match at All In or All Out, and then we're done. But no, we are just going at it. Like, it's just, yeah.
Right. If I had Tony Khan money, I would book Fozzy on a world tour just so he was gone.
Perfect.
Let's get to the good stuff then. All right.
Yeah.
Because there was good stuff on. I mean, we didn't frame this night very well. It was good stuff going on this show.
Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the next like semi mediocre, and then we'll go banger. So this next match had 2 highlights for me. Other than that, I could care less about this match, unfortunately, and I had really high hopes. Saraya versus Toni Storm.
Mm-hmm.
Toni Storm coming out like Goldust style, like
Full
black
Marilyn,
and white.
Yeah.
Marilyn Monroe. I ate that up, popped so hard. I'm like, this is great. This is perfect for her. And then when the shoe came out, I like literally watching at my daughter's softball game, go to shoe, and I said somebody look at me just all awkward. I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't. There's a shoe.
She changed outfits too, by the way, under the ring. I don't know if you caught that.
Yes, she did change outfits under the ring. But yeah, so Saraya finds a way to win with the help of one Ruby Soho.
Hey, Ruby. I almost fucked up there. Wow.
You sure shit did.
We were knocking on me so hard at the beginning of the show. I figured it was still going on.
I mean, you did a good job for yourself.
See, I stole Jamie's movie quote earlier. I should have done the "Hey Ruby." I should have cut you off.
Jamie tried for about like 7 months there. Tried to like skip in front of me.
I got it like twice. I got it twice.
Yeah, very close.
The problem is when you get excited to cut off and jump in and do it, you lose the finesse of the "Hey Ruby." Like it's got to be delivered just right.
It happens to the best of us. So you weren't really into this match that much at all. I mean, we talked that Saraya wrestling in the ring is not what we want to see, really, right?
I was honestly shocked she won though, but I think an audible got called because of another audible that legit got called.
I think that I don't know. I don't hate that she won because of the story they're developing. This kind of goes, I know it's a little bit of fancy booking that Austin and I have, but I figure what are they doing with Toni? And I think that it was legit because after the match, you saw Toni was kind of beside herself. She's going further down the rabbit hole, right? She had the whole kiss of death thing in the middle of the ring, which was the biggest pop of the match. And it was actually a legitimately cool thing. It's not something we haven't seen before. I think that's how Mickie James won her first championship against Trish Stratus, if I remember right? Mm-hmm. She had the kiss and then the Stratus faction, and then boom, she won, right?
Yeah, chick kick into Stratus faction. Yep.
Okay, kiss, chick, hit, Stratisfaction. Right, yeah. So, I don't know. It's like, was it the best example of women's wrestling? No. Is it the worst we've seen from AEW in the past 6 weeks? No. I thought it was good. I think it's good storyline, especially if your plan is for at Wrestle Come Lately.
Wrestle Dream.
I don't know why I can't remember that.
Wrestle Wet Dream.
Wrestle Dream. If Wrestle Dream, you got a plan for one Miss Mercedes Moné. I'm good with this. I feel like they're going to keep the belt on her until Mercedes is ready because that is the big ticket punch. And Austin, you let me know if I'm wrong here. Saraya, Mercedes Moné, that's your poster, right?
Yeah. It's weird though because I think that's gonna bring in the most eyes out of people that don't currently watch the product.
Right.
Like that little bit on top of the people that are going to tune in just for Mercedes Moné are probably going to tune in to hear her wrestling Saraya, especially if they're not regular AEW fans. They really haven't seen, or Saraya, I always pronounce her name wrong, but
it's okay.
If they haven't seen Saraya in her AEW run and they really haven't seen her work, and then they see this advertised and think, we're getting NXT Paige versus Sasha Banks. I can see how that draws some more eyes than it would otherwise. Now, we are not getting NXT Paige. We are getting what we saw tonight, which is several steps behind where she used to be.
But those people are probably familiar with NXT or WWE Paige, which they might not be expecting a all-out banger either. Just saying.
I thought it was very likely Saraya was retaining the title tonight. Mostly because Toni Storm won a 4-way to get into this match, but there really hasn't been a big blow up with the Outcasts. Like you had Saraya spraying Toni with the gimmick to win the title at All In, but Toni's doing this crazy character, so she's not necessarily like just hunting her down about like going for revenge like you traditionally get in pro wrestling. There wasn't enough buildup. Like they were clearly kicking Toni out of the Outcasts and all that. So it didn't seem like the time to change a title for the story. It seems like they're still early in a story, and I think this was a way to just kind of wrap up Saraya the way she won the title at All In. She now gets her win over Toni Storm, even though it wasn't clean. But I think this was a way to send Toni elsewhere. We might get Toni and Ruby on the way out somewhere, but I think hopefully Toni with the Outcast is done, and we can get Toni with Bullet Club Gold where she belongs sooner rather than later. Yeah. The finish was what it was. Little mailed in, like, okay, ref distracted. She's got the gimmick. Like, all right, that was Britt Baker's like whole title run. That's MJF. A lot of his stuff too. It's just very overdone. But for you got to have a finish. You don't want Toni to lose clean. Like, okay, it was fine. While I understood the call for the story, just watching this match, like, I just wish Saraya wasn't the champion, the women's champion of AEW.
Yeah.
There's a second gear that's missing with her. Like this match was Toni Storm doing a ton of heavy lifting, working around Saraya and working Ruby into stuff, not like doing Ruby's part for her, but also feeding into everything Ruby was doing.
You have limitations with Saraya in the ring.
Yeah.
Not necessarily all her fault either, too. Let's be completely fair, right? You know, we know why, but there's limitations.
But and it's one of those things where like we understand it's not that like, hey, Saraya, you're a shit performer, go away. It's just
hey, you could be paralyzed any moment, so let's not do that.
Like I get it, and live your dream, be involved in all that, but with the roster, there is a quality of match you could have for your women's title every time that is lessened by Saraya having the title. Is like my biggest thing. Just the match will never be as good as a Sheeta and Toni Storm, or when you get Mercedes Moné in with half the women on the roster, or even Emi Sakura. Like even someone that's not getting pushed or beating anybody.
Ruby and Toni would have been a better match. Hey, Ruby.
So you're stuck with that with Saraya as champion. But like I said, because there wasn't this big blow off with the Outcasts, and they had like solidly kicked Toni out. It was real weird, like having Ruby 100% cheating for Saraya, and it just looked like they skipped steps to kind of get to this match. I guess the best way to put it.
Jamie, do you feel like this is filler for their storyline, or just
Yeah, I feel like this match didn't fit with where they are. Like to your point, Austin, it's like they skip steps. Like usually you have some kind of turn, something like this. Yeah, Toni did the spray paint thing and acted all crazy, whatever. That's fine. But at the end of the day, you have to set it up. And it feels like, oh, hey, we're just going to make it where she's separate now already. Even though mentally she's separate, because she's acting cuckoo, but like you have to set it up properly. And I felt like we didn't get that. That's probably what turned me off most about this was that piece.
Yeah, and I think that really it really telegraphed the finish as well. Kind of like I was saying earlier, it didn't seem like there was going to be a title change because they did skip those steps. You didn't get that big story like you had with your opener is a story they've been telling for 12 years. Your main event is a story they've thrown together in 3 weeks, but is still like the story is there. And this just kind of felt like it's something to do on the show to get the women's title on there.
Yeah, well said.
I mean, unfortunately those are the crumbs we get from a women's division right now. But Hopefully a chain. I'm still positive.
We did get Toni Storm with a shoe in one hand and another hidden in her tights, which was one of my favorite spots the entire evening.
The entire night. That was great. She had the one just stuck back there.
Yeah, making the shoe the prop is the right move. 100%.
He does have a new chin up, tits out shirt, ladies and gentlemen, at ProWrestlingTees.com.
Ooh, there you go. You can also get yourself an acclaimed Ring Authentic belt at
$5,000.
$5,000.
I thought it was over $6,000.
No, it's 5,000. It's $4,049.99.
Maybe that was like Canadian dollars. I saw it on Twitter. So
it's insane. Yeah.
Ooh. I mean, I know.
That being said, I did see where both gentlemen in the claim came out and were like, hey, replicas will be available later. They take much longer to produce. These are like the legit belts we wear.
Right.
That being said, I remember I got my little sister a custom WWE spinner title when she was like 10 for Christmas.
That's cool.
And she's like 10 years younger than me. So like I was an adult and she was a child at the time, which is the only way I could have afforded this. It was like $300 and it was replica, but like identical quality. So
close, right.
I don't know how these are $6,000, but all right.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought $500 for like the near replicas, and like remember they have the NFL ones out now for 31 of the 32 teams, which I find hilarious. No Jaguars available. Those are like $600 some, but they're solid. I mean, yeah, if you got this cash to spend it.
I mean, inflation's the thing, guys.
Well, don't tell me that.
Hey, leather's expensive, man.
Yeah, I mean, cutting a little scissor in there and making your belt scissor itself is
That's quality craftsmanship. You got to pay for that.
Apparently, it says "Scissor Me Daddy Ass" on the back too. I didn't catch that.
I love in general that AEW is giving a lot of people custom titles. Like it's such a fun little touch.
It really is, because you have the Bulgaria TNT title for Miro, right?
Yeah.
You know, you have the LA Laker
Burberry belt.
Right, the Burberry belt. You had the Laker title for Scorpio Sky. Scorpio Sky, where the hell's he been?
He showed up on Collision.
FTR has like snakeskin or something on the tag titles now.
Yeah.
I thought that was the tag titles in general had the snakeskin on the back. I thought they always had. Oh, just for FTR?
Yeah, of course.
This was the first time I've noticed that, but I've never like looked that closely. So maybe it's a thing that's been going for a while, but I just noticed it like last week, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, we have 3 matches to go here. Okay, you want to
3 matches? We're saving one. Hopefully, both of you guys know which one I want to save. But I do want to go ahead and get into the Audible, because I feel like something happened. Though this match was great, I don't think what happened was supposed to happen at all.
No. And you're of course talking about the international title match, Rey Fenix,
yes,
Jon Moxley. Match was fantastic. We've sung the praises about Jon Moxley over and over, how he can wrestle against anybody. We've sung the praises about Rey Fenix not being human. So naturally, this is going to be a great match. And it was until
it wasn't.
Until all of a sudden, Rey does his like shoulder pile driver thing, goes to pin him, and gets a legit 3 count that somehow is called a 2 count.
Yeah, like he was out of it. So like if you watch it in slow-mo, you can see the head hit and he kind of compresses a little. So I think he was out of it. He was able to get up under his own power and walk out. They were able to do before that, he got the 2 count, got him up, hit him with a pile driver, got the W, 1, 2, 3.
And a surprise, Rey Fenix.
Your new champion's Rey Fenix. That totally was not supposed to happen. But I think Moxley was too messed up. And as somebody who's been in the ring, Austin, you could probably talk to this scenario better than
are we correcting our assumptions about what happened?
No. So not only someone who's been in the ring, but someone who has produced a live pro wrestling TV show. Basically, the I say the one. It's a slightly longer list than that. But like the one thing that can't happen is the ref just stopping their count for no reason because it's not supposed to be the finish. Because the ref is kind of like you're tethered to reality. We know all this shit is fake, but there's some order. That's the law. That's what's going. And obviously, like you can cheat behind their back and things happen, but that's what kind of brings us all together. That's like the one thing that's not a gimmick of any sort. Obviously, refs are in on all that, but like that's kind of your guiding light, I guess is a good way to put it. Once the ref gives up the gimmick and stops because he knows it's not the finish, you have now taken everybody out of the show. And in a way that you can't take everyone out that bad doing literally anything else. Orange Cassidy goes out there every fucking week and looks you in the eye and tells you this is absolutely fake and I am not taking this seriously, and is one of the most overacts in pro wrestling because he does it in a way that's part of the show, and because he's one of the wrestlers, you can just think, oh, that's a gimmick. Like, right. I fit this in the context of what I'm seeing. Once the ref just, nope, this is it, I gotta stop, and the guy doesn't kick out, well, the ref just told everybody, like, this wasn't how this was supposed to go. Instead of, you count 3, and if the guy doesn't kick out, the guy doesn't kick out. We can book out of that later. Rey Fenix getting a surprise clean win over Mox would have had people on Twitter talking. Rey Fenix is a worthy talent of holding that title for a week or two until Mox comes back and takes it right back. Yeah. You can hot potato the international title because it's been on the same guy for like 6 months or whatever, however long Orange Cassidy had it until he just lost it. Like, and it's your third tier title. You could say it's equal to TNT, but TNT was the second one they came with, so I'm gonna call it the third title for the international. You could bounce that around a bit. Okay, Mox got concussed and didn't kick out. Rey Fenix, technically the babyface in the match, got a surprise clean victory over a super established star. Everyone wins for it. Mox can lose. Mox can come right back and beat someone next. It doesn't matter. Yeah. But the second the ref stops that count, you've just told everybody this guy's not supposed to win. And then 10 seconds later, he just hits the same move again, and you've got to pin it everywhere. And now instead of everyone being excited that we got a genuine surprise, you ruined the surprise. And everyone's just kind of looking around real awkwardly, like someone just farted in an elevator and they're trying to figure out who did it, because it's just bad TV.
Yeah. And I don't know about in the arena, but you know, the TV is lined up and the camera is like, the angle is right looking at his left shoulder there, the uncovered shoulder. And that thing did not move. And I was just like, ooh, that's not good.
It was as blatant as it could be.
I mean, if it was a different angle, you could sell it differently, right? You know, at least for a TV audience, maybe. But you know,
this might be a hot take. That one moment for me was worse than the entire Jericho Guevara segment of the show. Like that.
Ooh, that was a hot take.
I understand why, though. I mean,
that's one of those things that just makes your TV product look bad.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. Yeah, things happen. Someone can get concussed, but yeah, you can always book around. Like, you can always just write something and figure it out later, whatever you want to do. But yeah, once the ref takes everybody out of the show, it's kind of hard to come back from. And that's not that like the crowd didn't get in stuff later and all that, but like it's just such a serious low point. Real quick aside, going back to me producing a TV show. So when I was with Rocky Mountain Pro, we were live on Right Now TV, available in 9 markets across the US, not any good ones. So I don't know if anyone ever watched it, but we were running a live TV show. And we had that exact thing happen one night with one of our refs, and all of our refs were like trainees, and none of them were particularly like experienced. Same thing happened. He knew what the finish was. He was counting. Someone didn't kick out, and he just kind of stopped and then froze. It was not good. And there wasn't like much we could do. He kind of froze. The match has to keep going because he hasn't called for anything.
It's not over yet. Yeah.
So they go back to working. They rerun the spot, finish the match. No one cheers or boos. Or everyone, the exact same thing happened tonight. Everyone's just like, what? we get to the back afterwards. I pull this young gentleman aside, and I won't say his name, not like anyone listening would know, but I'll just be kind to him. He was a nice kid, and I was like, man, was it 2 or was it 3? And he's just staring at me, kind of frozen. Goes, I don't know. And I stare him right in the eyes, and I was like, dude, do you know the only person in the entire universe that has that information? And he starts pointing at me. And I'm like, no, man, it's you. You're the ref. It's 2 or it's 3. You just got to pick one. And it's whatever you say. You're wearing the official shirt.
Poor kid. Poor kid.
I had to tell that story because we were on the
That's
topic.
a great story. Oh,
That's
my
an
God.
amazing story. Yeah.
So do you feel like this definitely tarnishes Rey Fenix? Legitimately,
No.
an awesome moment for Fenix, getting a singles title, right? And then
I don't think it tarnishes Phoenix at all. I think it tarnishes
I don't think
the
it tarnishes
ref.
Phoenix, but it tarnishes him getting the title, right? A little bit. It's just
I think it only tarnishes Phoenix if you make it tarnish Phoenix. And by that, I mean
immediately
you
drops
drop that title next week back to Mox or to anybody else. You're just doubling down on this was a mistake, which there should not be mistakes because you're just writing the story as you go. Like, we only know it's a mistake when you tell us it's a mistake. I would say at this point, run with it. Give Mox the vacation he's been putting off for a year and a half.
Good God.
Yeah, especially concussion stuff. You don't need him back right away. I'm sure you'd like him for Wrestle Dream, but you could give him a pay-per-view off. Like, he's been doing a lot of heavy lifting, and the fans would understand. And concussions, like, that's not shit to play with anymore. That's stuff that is taking. Look at, Bryan Danielson took years off his career. I think Adam Cole was having recurring concussion issues for 9 months or something.
Mm-hmm.
Give Mox a time off. Give Rey Fenix at least, 6 to 8 weeks of defending that title against every motherfucker on the roster you want to see toss a lucha around for 6 to 8 weeks. Give him that run, and then you can drop it to a returning Mox later. Just work with it.
You know what angle I want to see? I want to see this angle.
I would love that for the international title.
Yeah, they did.
Yes.
They did in TNA when they were in there, or Impact when it first became Impact. When Penta had a run as the champion, it was him and against his brother, and it was amazing. I think they did it in Underground too, if I'm not mistaken. But they're brothers.
I would go as far as to say with Wrestle Dream coming up, I would rather see Rey Fenix defending that title against someone you can get from Japan than Mox defending that title against pretty much anybody.
Yeah. I'm just saying you have things you can do with Phoenix as well, right?
Yeah.
You could put Phoenix and Cassidy. There's a great match to have out there, right?
Yeah, but you don't want. I wouldn't want that because I think the retribution or the story of Cassidy finding himself
getting the
needs
title
to
back
conclude with
is what
it has to conclude with Mox.
Well,
Yeah,
I don't say that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that he beats Phoenix is the thing, right? You can add it to his
That diminishes him.
No, I think that's just furthering the story.
It adds to his downtrodden nature, right?
Yeah. So you've got OC. He finally gets beaten for the title by Mox, and he's got to find himself. Mox surprisingly loses the title, and OC's like, I know I can beat that guy. I'm going to go get my title back, and then make Mox come try and take it from me again. And then Rey Fenix catches him with a pin out of nowhere. That's the other thing I like about Rey Fenix with the babyface run with this title. If you run with it, he's the kind of guy that could just catch roll-ups out of nowhere, and like Mysterio used to do, where you don't know how he's going to do it, but he's going to find a way. But give Rey Fenix that win over Orange Cassidy. I think it furthers OC's story a bit of, okay, I've got to find myself. And then when Mox eventually comes back and takes title back from Phoenix, you roll right back into OC getting there. And OC beats Phoenix in a return match to get that shot at Mox.
I dig it.
But you can do angles is what I'm getting at with Phoenix, right?
Yeah.
You got so many angles you can do. And I don't mind them either, Austin. We've talked about this, bouncing the titles around. Bounce them around a little bit.
Yeah.
We spent a lot of time talking about a match that wasn't it wasn't one of the headliners. Let's talk about the headliners, Jamie.
All right. let's talk about that AEW World Championship match then. Because hopefully everybody figured out which one I'm saving to
Correct
the end.
order. Correct.
MJF versus Samoa Joe. This match was amazing. This is exactly what I was expecting. And then some. Top Joe.
It was a banger.
Top MJF.
Yeah.
And you got a move steal for the W. And you had, not only did you have that, but you had cheating to win with the help of Adam Cole.
Oh, God. There's not really much I can say about this match because everything was just great. You said it, like the best Joe, the best of MJF. Everything was fantastic.
He stole his move.
I kind of knew that was going to happen somehow, right? You know, if they're
of course.
Yes.
I was honestly kind of hoping Joe would steal a move, like
the Heat Seeker.
I was just hoping Joe would win.
It is fair.
I was hoping when they did the gimmick with like Adam Cole's got a rush to Roddy in the hospital, that it was some kind of setup where like the Kingdom was showing up and costing MJF the title. I understand Joe's not going to beat him clean, but I was thinking about this during the entire match because, like, to me, it was good. Like the match itself was very good, but in a broader sense for me, like babyface MJF still doesn't really fully work for me. He's got to see some adversity, which is funny because nothing annoys me more than the people defending Cody losing at WrestleMania because he hasn't faced adversity. Like, we have been watching this motherfucker for the better part of a decade. But babyface MJF, like, babyfaces have to be a little vulnerable at times.
Yeah.
And it just seems like, well, he just ends up beating everybody, and he can also cheat, and he gets to make fun of everybody, not take things seriously on the It's kind of the same reason why I don't give a shit about Superman. Like, if you could just get to like be everything, like there's not interest there. And like, yeah, I don't want to take away from the match. The match was real good. The story they're telling is still good, but yeah, just for me, MJF as a babyface isn't clicking yet. Just because I think he needs a setback somewhere.
That's fair.
What do you think that setback is? Is it obvious it's going to be Adam Cole at one of the upcoming pay-per-views eventually here, probably turning on him, right? Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Although it's
a bit on the nose, but what else could it be?
That one, but I think he needs a little bit of a setback even before he gets there. And I thought this was a good time to do it. You've got a believable guy that can carry the belt for a while in Samoa Joe. And I think this could be the start of, Cole turning on him. Because if he's not the champion anymore, what good is he? I think, it makes the story more interesting to change the title here. And make MJF kind of like bring him down just a little bit and make him fight his way back up as a babyface. And then when he re-wins the title, it's a much bigger deal. That would just be better to me. Like I said, the segment was still good. The storyline's still good, but I think you could do more with MJF by giving him a little, just a little bit of adversity. And just freshen up your title picture too.
Yeah, I can get behind that.
I almost feel bad about it, but I feel like MJF is genuinely so entertaining. He doesn't really need the title. Give it to someone else for a while. Like let some other people feud over that, and he doesn't need it. Like everything he's doing is not really enhanced by him being the champion. He just kind of happens to be the champion and is doing all this shit.
And again, I don't disagree with moving the belts around. I mean, we talked about that multiple times over, multiple championships. Move the belts. Like we don't like that was one of the great things about like the Attitude Era, right? Belts moved like a son of a bitch, right? Unless you were the WCW World Championship and you just stayed on either Hulk Hogan's shoulder or Goldberg's. But in WWE back then, belts moved all the time, right? I mean, there's one night that the world title changed hands like 3 times, right? It's like these things happen. It's great. It can add complexity to the story. You can build some stuff up. You can give, like you said, some depth to this story instead of just his neck kind of hurts, and Adam's kind of okay with him cheating, sort of, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know.
and like this thing, like the neck thing, that's not even a setback. That's not only are you just beating everybody, but you're doing it not even at 100% because MJF is basically he's John Cena now. Like he just beats everybody,
Yeah.
and it gets old.
But can we talk about Roddy's terrible bed condition in his hospital room? I mean, I meant hospital room. I really did.
I mean, hearing the machine beep, beep, it just got me. I got popped so hard for that.
Him setting it up, tell Adam Cole to go away, and then reclining it right back down.
How he was comatose basically until Adam's voice comes in. Adam.
So funny.
Give me.
I can't remember if it was Taven or Bennett that turned Adam Cole was like, "That's how you dress when you're in mourning."
It was Taven actually.
So damn good.
Well, we will find out. The bed noise was amazing. We'll find out because they are obviously going to win the 4-way match on this Friday's Rampage to set up for Wrestle Dream. Did I get it right?
Yeah, you got it right.
Wrestle Dream
First time for everything.
Set up that ROH tag title match. So that hopefully is some adversity where we're going to start to further some storylines, Austin, I believe. Here's hoping at least.
Here's to hope.
It's the best storyline they got going. I'm not gonna lie. Like I know you guys weren't big on it, but I'm like, this Roddy stuff's got legs to it. Watch. And
I hated it at first, but I'm in now.
Yeah,
I'm in.
Roddy stuff's really like it's folded itself into the MJF and Cole storyline real well. It's like one of the most entertaining things, like genuinely entertaining in the way that like only pro wrestling can be sometimes, like away from the physical and ringside, that AEW's really ever done.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, let's get to the real main event, which I wanted to be the finish.
Our main event. That's right. We're not ending with the last match. We're ending with that first match, ladies and gentlemen. What a match. What a banger. All the feels, everything you wanted. Brutal, beautiful, and just yeah. So happy about this one. And yeah, words escaped me on this one. I'm talking about none other than Ring of Honor's winner take all, Claudio versus Eddie motherfucking Kingston.
Yep. New Japan Strong Openweight title, Ring of Honor World title, 12 years of history, and the place was ready for it. And they did production value around this. It was great. They did the whole backstage kind of big fight feel thing again, which I love that they're doing that now for some of these matches. Not all of them, but just some of them. I love that, and oh my God, what a way to open the show. And that should have closed it with that, but whatever.
I was about to say the exact same thing, especially because AEW has been known to put the heavyweight title match on first, so it can go as long as it goes without worrying about overrun or knowing when the finish was coming. You knew this match wasn't going to be like super long, like it would need to go first. And Eddie Kingston finally beating Claudio in New York to the New York crowd is just as big as MJF beating Samoa Joe, who they assumed he was probably going to beat anyway. Right. I would have opened the show with MJF and Joe, and then I would have closed with Eddie Kingston getting his big moment. That was just great pro wrestling TV.
I couldn't agree more with both you guys. And typically I always try to be different just for the sake of being different for our viewers. But no, this match should have closed it. They should have done the confetti. They should have done everything because, damn it, Eddie Kingston deserved this moment. Eddie Kingston is the modern era Dusty Rhodes, the working man champ, man. That's probably the best way I can explain it.
Yeah.
He is the modern day Dusty Rhodes, American Dream, baby. He is like, because I think he's so real and so just Raw.
He's relatable. He's that guy that you can go get. It's like he's your neighbor from down the street. You go get a beer with and play. When he's in your bowling league or whatever, right? He's that type of dude, right? He's just like, or it's like that's the guy that my sister used to date. He's still a pretty cool cat. I buy weed from him occasionally. So he's wow. I went all over the spectrum there. Oh my god,
You sure did.
But yeah, he's that everyman, and the place was pumped for him. I don't want to say it diminished the rest of the show, but that was such an emotional start to the show that that ending would have been amazing.
Yeah. I mean this in the most complimentary way possible. Eddie Kingston is the mid-card Jon Moxley. And I mean that in terms of what he does for the company. As far as just being that consistent performer, everything he's doing, you're interested in. He'll make everybody he's in the ring with look good. He'll go lay down for anyone he needs to go lay down for. I think we've given Mox a lot of credit, not just us, the entire anybody with eyes that watches AEW has given Mox credit for kind of carrying the company through the Punk bullshit and other stuff like, MJF disappearing for 6 months and, last year and all that. Mox has just been that guy that, hey, every week, tell me what you need me to do. I'll go out there and kill it. And I feel like Kingston has been right there with him the whole time, but doesn't quite get the same, acknowledgement of filling that role.
And King over in chat says it as well too, like the promos. My God, the promos! I remember BT did what they're doing a bit for a while where they would just run up to Eddie and have him do a promo on something random that they pick up and he's like, the man's got emotion. I think that's why everybody loves him so much, because he wears his heart on his sleeve and he can cut a great promo and he's relatable. And he still goes out there and you still get good stuff out of him in the ring. It's not going to be, 6-star bangers necessarily every time, but you're going to have quality, and quality is sometimes better than, seeing as much as you want to see. And I talk about, you give me Omega Osprey every week and put it in my eyes. Well, eventually it's going to get old, right? That's where Kingston comes in, because it's like, this was everything you wanted in a match. It was fantastic.
Yeah, and I think another thing with Kingston that you don't get a lot in pro wrestling is kind of like you were saying. Everyone knows a guy like Eddie Kingston. He could be your sister's boyfriend. He could be your apartment neighbor downstairs. Everyone kind of knows one of that guy. And Eddie Kingston, I think the reason why he connects so well with the crowd is a lot of times he almost seems like a surrogate for the crowd on the show. He's just a dude that happens to be good enough at pro wrestling to be there. But he doesn't even seem, and I don't mean this to sound bad in any way, he doesn't seem like a pro wrestler. He just seems like a guy that happens to be doing pro wrestling in the best way possible.
Yeah. And that's that relatable piece that you're talking about there.
Dusty, yeah.
Dusty wasn't the most chiseled man.
Oh, no.
I mean, Dusty and I look more alike than I do with Randy Orton. Just saying. But no, I love how he's very honest and open about his mental health too. I think that's another piece that he's like, hey, I'm not scared to be me. He's the realest of real. In the days of shoot and kayfabe and all these things, I really feel that Eddie doesn't play by those rules. Eddie plays by the rules of I'm me and you just gotta fucking deal with it. And I think everybody around him, it's 90s grunge rock all over again.
Ooh.
Think about that, because that's when the heart and soul of things start to come out. People have this angst and all these problems. Yeah, I resonate with you, man. I get you, Nirvana. I can't understand your Pearl Jam, but I'm right there with you, But no, Eddie, he's that. I feel that connection with this dude. And the moment he sells a damn Claudio Sucks Egg shirt, I'm buying the MF.
You're missing a mint here, because Jamie's going to buy at least 30 of them. So go on.
For real. But no, hats off to Claudio for shaking Eddie's hand, after everything was done, even though it was kind of a half-hearted shake, and gave him the belt. I thought that was a nice touch.
It was, and it was a nice way to like clearly indicate to your audience, we are done with this.
Yeah, they said it on the broadcast that they both have said this is the end of it, but to actually have that visual cue, great.
And it also, it fits in character with Claudio, and the Blackpool Combat Club. They're just there to fight, and sometimes they're going to lose, and they're going to be men about it, and they might come back and fight you later. But yeah, it made sense and especially with Claudio, his whole thing in the buildup was like, when I beat you, you're going to shake my hand and tell me you respect me. Yep. It was good to see him do that on the back end.
And it's the Ring of Honor, it's the whole Code of Honor thing. Yeah. So they're both on. He's going to honor the title. And who knows how kayfabe it is. I know that they really don't like each other, but they obviously have patched things up enough to work in the same company without killing each other. So, who knows,
They're professionals.
Yeah, they're professionals about it. They might, I don't really like it that much, but hey, we can make it work. It's fine, It's like, I'm not going to hang out with you after the show, but, we'll go and do this thing. So that was great.
Yeah, and I think, they've been, even in terms of just AEW, not going to the larger history, they've been kind of wrestling each other for better part of a year now.
Mm-hmm.
And having some really good matches along the way. And I think no matter how much you don't like somebody, there's something about you have a couple really good matches with them, and you just can't really hate them anymore. Like you got that kind of chemistry in the ring. And it's like, all right, I still think you're an asshole. I'm not going to hang out with you, but we're fine.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Plus Eddie and Claudio did not miss the assignment of, hey, we have real life beef. Why don't we play into that and make money with it?
If only someone else might have been doing that, they might have a job still. Who knows?
And what's great too is with Eddie and Claudio, if you were super deep into Chikara back in the day and on indie forums and shit, you probably knew. But your your wrestling audience largely, they didn't know they had problems with each other. And AEW did such a good job of building that up on TV without going too overboard on it and turn it into just they somehow towed the line of Eddie Kingston being it's fucking hands on sight, but still not just going so overboard that you couldn't stop one of them getting to each other. It's really hard to do, and they just did it beautifully.
And here's my final thought on that. And Jamie, I want your comments on this specifically because I know it's something that you and I have been long talking about here. Okay. For what it's worth, our complaints about some booking things and some decisions and, some of the quick turnarounds that they do, AEW and Toni, they do have a little bit of a knack when they choose to. They've actually got some really good long-term storytelling that they can pull off. Not just the Hangman at Kenny Omega thing, because then they got nothing to do with it, right? This is a great example of that little bits over time to the point where this became what it was tonight, right? Yes, it would this have been as big of a thing if it did anywhere besides New York? Probably not, but probably still pretty big, right?
It might have been just as big as Chicago.
There's that, but you have certain things like that storyline, the whole Orange Cassidy, I think that he does have a storyline finally, right?
He does.
I think that, but the way they're drawing it out, and as much as we dogged a little bit about it too, the whole Toni Storm falling to madness and descent bit, they're drawing that out in part because they're waiting for Mercedes, but they're doing a long-term story. Now it's the only story with the women, but still it's a long-term story. They have these different things that they do work, and just find that middle ground there. I feel is the only part that AEW really lacks, where you get stuff that's thrown together last second, or you get stuff that's overblown like Sammy and Jericho, where we don't care about it, but they stick with it because he's trying to play the same recipe. So
yeah, no, I agree. I think they are starting to finally get their feet when it comes to some storylines. Perfect example. And as much as this pains me, because I love it now, and at first I was so anti anything that this person's ever said. And Christian Cage right now His storylines is ridiculous. Like, I hear you have a father, and he's dead. You know, I just love it. The Don Callis, Kenny Omega, thing that's gonna be around forever, and they touch on it while they do other things. It's just a symphony of it's beautiful.
Right.
But then you have your quick hitters and stuff like that, and maybe they can get Brian Cage away from the Mogul Embassy, get him in a tag team with Wardlow, and call it Meat Mountain, and they win the tag team championships with an awesome storyline. Just saying. Meat Mountain.
Father of the Year. Yeah, I don't know if you cut this before, King, if it's your first time here. I think I've seen you before here, King, but I don't know if you were here a couple weeks ago. Jamie was calling for Christian Cage to have Father Figure by George Michael as his entrance music.
It's perfect.
It's
perfect.
Because I will be your father figure. It's like the refrain of the song.
Put your tiny hand in mine. Come on.
I mean, it is
itself.
We have a group chat going on, Austin, where somebody tried to like correct Jamie and choose a different, father song, and I'm like, no, that doesn't work. No. It's got to be Father Figure. Listen to the lyrics, goddammit. It's so good. Third Grand Slam, probably the third best Grand Slam they had. The first one, I mean, you can't live with the first one. The build they had for it, they had Omega, Danielson, they had Ruby Soho. Hey, Ruby, not winning the title, unfortunately, but in a main event. Yes, I know Edge. Yes, Edge. One day you'll get your Edge. Everybody will get their Edge, right? But I think the first one was fantastic. Last year was pretty good. This one was, it had good moments. I feel like it could have been framed a little better. Still fun that they do this every year. I'd see them not, though. What are your thoughts on that? Hear me out.
I don't have the Mark Stradamus hat, but I'm going to make a prediction.
I can get for you.
That next year, Grand Slam is a pay-per-view.
Well, that probably makes a lot more sense.
I think when they go to monthly, Grand Slam becomes a pay-per-view.
Same with Blood and Guts. Same with a lot of this. I'm right there with you.
Don't do 12.
Well, because they're going to do 12 because HBO Max.
If that gets us on Max, fine. Okay.
Max announced that they're starting to do live sportscasting under the Bleacher Report umbrella. Like, Bleacher Report stuff's gonna be on there. AEW wasn't listed, but it's only a matter of time, ladies and gentlemen. It's paying $75, or $70 a month, or whatever it's gonna be. $10 extra.
I think, isn't AEW like still in negotiations for their TV deal and all that?
Yeah,
I think it's probably once that's finalized with the network.
Yeah, it'll be.
I think then it'll go to like they're starting new contracts. They want to make sure like the money on that's all figured out.
Step one was part of what was part of the reason they brought Jeff Jarrett in was because they wanted to ramp up. They're planning on doing more pay-per-views, right? We didn't know what that meant at the time, right? But he was brought in because of his experience running companies, doing all this, that they wanted to have that in there for this belt. Part two is you got to get the catalog because that's what the network wants, right? That's what they want. They want to be able to justify advertising for it on Max. If you're doing 4 a year, that's not really enough for them. So I get that, right? So now we just got to get that TV deal done. So they've ramped it up. They're starting to do more pay-per-views. They can get to them and say, we're going to do it every month. We've done it in the past 3 months. We're doing it every month. Let's go. Right. I think you're right, Jamie. I think that's imminent. And my God, like you said, I'll be so happy not to pay $50 every month for an extra pay-per-view and be able to watch it on an app that works on my TV on a website that works on my computer just fine. I don't have to worry about the bullshit.
I'm in.
Yeah. I'm 100% behind them going monthly as long as it goes to Max where it's free every month. Because the other thing, obviously $50 a month is something I'd rather not pay if I don't have to. But also the fact that you're not relying on buys allows you a lot more freedom with concepts for the pay-per-views.
Yeah.
You don't have to have a big feud for a title match to sell something. you can do different stuff, and it's a double-edged blade or whatever you want to call it, because I think that is part of the reason why the overall quality and product in WB has suffered over the last 5 to 10 years. But you go back to when they moved away from pay-per-views, they didn't have to sell them anymore. It doesn't really matter how many people watch as long as there's enough to justify having it streaming, which is a much lower number. You're not worried about, like, it's already paid for by subscriptions. So if they go to a model where if you have max subscription, it's free, they could do stuff like, they would never do this, but an all women's pay-per-view. Like,
I bet he's gonna try at some point to do an all women's pay-per-view. Whether it's justified when he tries to do it or not remains to be seen. But he's gonna try to do one. I know it.
Yeah, you have access to women's talent from around the world. Like, you could put together a really good all women's pay-per-view.
Dark Starlight Kid, just all Stardom,
and they could do it at the first sporting or the first pro athletic facility built for women specifically here in Kansas City. Let's go.
So hold on. So King here brings up a great question. What do we think about Edge going to AEW?
I don't care, and here's why. We just talked about this, and I've long been on the heel Christian because I loved heel Christian from TNA because I'm an old fanboy. What does Edge add to this story that's gold right now?
I don't think it's him adding to the story at all. I think it's him coming to the AEW in itself and then being separate for a while, then eventually coming back.
I don't know if the thing is, if Christian is here, you bring in Edge.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's like, I got peanut butter and I've got jelly, but we're not going to talk about putting them together ever, right? I don't know. I feel like Edge coming in on his own. I don't know if you this is before you joined us on the show, Austin, but I didn't really care. I don't view Edge as like a tops guy, right? I never did. I think he's a second tier guy, right? I think he's about the same level as like a Christian is, right? I think they worked fantastic together. I'm most reminiscent of them as a tag team. I've told you this before, Jamie. Don't act surprised.
But the thing is, you're putting Christian and Edge on the same level. Christian and Edge are never on the same level.
I never got into Edge as being a top guy. Like the whole John Cena thing. And then the live sex show, I was just like, I don't, why? I don't
That's
care
a great cinema. That was great TV.
I love seeing Lita on my TV just because I'm a perv.
So I am 100% behind Edge coming into AEW.
Sure.
For one very important reason. The best heel acts in AEW right now, Jeff Jarrett, Christian, Don Callis. I think you see where I'm going with this. They seem to be doing really well by having, and even not in a heel sense, but what they've done with Sting has been really good. If we forget that the Hardys are there, like they've done great with bringing in these names from other places. I think Edge would add a lot to the product. I think it would be a good chance for Edge, because like I think Edge's in-ring work specifically, I think was like a tier below your best star guys.
Yeah,
still very good. Like nothing to take away from it.
I'm not saying he's not a scrub, but
But I think Edge's character work was phenomenal. I think his promos are a little underrated because it was never talking like The Rock or Stone Cold, where it was like meant to necessarily entertain you. I think Edge's was really good in a sense of continuing stories with his promos and being a believable character. Like the ultimate opportunist he played that so well. One of my absolute all-time favorite matches is Edge and Mick Foley in the street fight at WrestleMania 22. Finishes with Edge spearing Foley through the flaming table off the ring apron. That match is a masterclass in facial expressions. If you watch Edge's face through all the hardcore parts of that match, he is selling the living shit out of everything to a degree you rarely see. I think he could add a lot to a lot of the roster on AEW as well, just working with them, kind of teaching them more of the little stuff that sometimes gets ignored, because if you have a match with like, you know, several destroyers and cutters off top rope and stuff, which is fucking rad.
It's amazing.
A lot of times you don't worry as much about the small details of the selling with the facial expressions, because that's not what the people are watching for in that match. But I think you can still pick a lot of that up to enhance that other stuff. I think Edge would be good for that. I don't think he has to come right into something with Christian. I think you've got to address it somehow.
Please no Edge and Christian versus the Hardys, though. King, you said it there. I'm sorry. Please no.
Yeah.
Please. It will happen one day if he ever comes in.
Yeah.
And I know it. And it's just like...
I think you could eventually get to Edge versus Christian, but you could have Edge come in and be like, look, man, you do your thing with your dinosaur and your title. I'm in here to go for the top belt. And he just kind of snubs Christian coming in. Okay. You do some fun stuff with him for a while. And then Christian, who held a grudge over Jungle Boy for like an entire year for eliminating him from a battle royal, then strikes like a year later on Edge. And then you get that match.
Jamie, yes. what you're an edgehead.
Yeah, well, I'm not necessarily an edgehead, but mine's simple. Mine is simple.
Go for it.
Edge equals ratings. You hear Edge is coming.
I can't argue that. Okay, I can't.
You hear Edge is debuting in AEW. Instantly, their ratings go up. What's Edge gonna do? He brings over some of the Fed fans, which is great because they're gonna see a good product. They're gonna see something that, you know, isn't Becky Lynch just talking in rhymes, you know, and you don't have like 4 botches by a person who's known for making botches and hurting women, reappearing and then said hurting women on her reappearance. You know, we're not gonna name Nia Jax. But anyway, I think he would make a lot of sense because he is what you wanted CM Punk to be. He's a level-headed dude, got a good mind for the business, who is very appreciative of helping out the younger talent, like he did with a lot of the other guys. Like, it's a win-win.
Real life best friends, real life neighbor, and best friends of FTR. Like, legit, he lives down the street from them.
Yeah, I think there's a lot you could do with him. There's a lot of people he could work there. Have good matches, tell good stories, and like Jamie was saying, he's going to bring eyes on the product, and not only like bring in new viewers, but there's something about AEW shows when you know something big's going to happen. Like when you knew Punk was showing up,
right?
There's like that crowd, and it doesn't matter where they are, but those nights where like the bigger nights and where you know big stuff's going down, like those shows are so much better just because the crowd is just nuts the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, and to be fair, this all ties in wonderfully here, you know, because if they moving into Max, which we all assume is going to happen, we've been calling for it for what, year and a half now. 12 pay-per-views a year, or at least 10. Right? Maybe you take December off, you know, December and July off. Who knows, right? But you got to have some big splashes to go with that. And yes, I know that's maybe an easy one because he's not currently signed with WWE, you know, but I think that fits the bill. I think you can do things with it. Does it excite me? Not really, but let's see what it does, right? You know, I mean, I'm a bit more of a mark anyway, you know, but I think that's the great thing is you can bring in Edge, but you can bring in others as well too, right? I would love to see them do something as far as bringing in, you know, they've made attempts to bring in women to be the shock in the system for the women's division, and none of them have really been giving any leeway to do any of that, right? You get a little bit here. Ruby got a push when she came in. Hey, Ruby, Toni got a push, and she's done well with what she's got. Yes, Saraya got to put, do something like that, But I think if you're giving this extra kind of, extra, availability of all these extra pay-per-views, all extra stuff, you got more leeway to go with things. And yeah, he does get eyes in. I'm not going to argue with that, Jamie.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if this would be a possibility, but potentially Edge coming in means you might get Beth Phoenix as well. And Beth Phoenix looked good the few matches she had. I think she could have a good match in AEW.
She could still go.
Beth, yes. The Beth would be the kind of like, I've seen what trash your women's department, because you can break. Okay, here you go. Now I'm fancy booking this. Now I'm getting on board with Edge just because you brought Beth Phoenix out, right?
Yeah, we had to pitch it the right way.
Right. You can bring Edge in, put him in face mode, right? Adam Cole eventually turns heel, takes the title away from Max. Max is, whatever. You could bring him right in and introduce him through that storyline and have him do other things, right? Introduce him in and be like, Adam Cole, I know you. You're growing up. That's not how you should handle yourself, right? Do whatever you feel like with Edge, but you can bring Beth Phoenix in too, like you said, and she could become a straight, just like boss mom heel, like, you bitches ain't, what are you doing, and just I've come here to just beat you into being, a main event caliber division. Give me that.
I like that. I support it. I'm gonna call Tony Khan tonight because he's still up because he works 80-hour weeks. I'll just let him know.
And you're gonna be up doing work because you got to work tonight too. Anyway, all right. Yeah. Speaking of which, we've worked enough. Thank you guys for joining us. We do appreciate it. We truly do. I agree with you. AEW and Impact are the better products. There's still some good stuff coming out in WWE. I'm not gonna lie.
Also,
Cable from a few weeks ago was Flames.
Yeah. I hated Austin Theory in the beginning. Came around. His character works pretty solid right now.
I mean, they got some good stuff going on there. I'm not gonna lie, So wrestling is great right now. Wrestling is even better when Eddie Kingston is a double champion in New York. Should have been with streamers. Alicia Keys coming out on like a motorized piano, playing Empire State of Mind. I mean, just should have, but still good. We'll be back next week though. Same bad time, same bad channel. Talk about where we stand from here. We're getting close to the next pay-per-view, and Jamie's tiny little belt up there above his head is going to be up for grabs again. So we got a little over 2 weeks away from Wrestle Dream. So October 1st, we have Wrestle Dream. Next week's the go home for it, guys. We only have like 3 matches booked right now.
Yeah.
Corbin Hangman, ROH tag titles are getting defended.
That'll be added to it, yeah.
Yeah. What else did they announce for that? I'm missing something.
You said. What would you say first?
Corbin Hangman.
You're missing Saber Jr. and
Saber Jr. and Danielson.
Yeah. Okay, those are the 3 that we know about right now.
Right. So they got to do a lot of booking next week. We shall see what happens. And then a month later, we got Full Gear. So
it worked All Out. They booked All Out in a week, and it was fantastic.
It was. I bet we see something coming off of Collision. Because they got some good matches for. I don't know if you guys saw the card for the 2-hour.
I mean, the 2-hour
Rampage and Collision look dope.
I never thought I would be looking forward to a Darby Allin match, but Christian versus Darby versus Luchasaurus in a 3-way for the TNT title is low-key my most hype match of the night.
That's great. A mixed tag match, which is like fantastic. Good on you for doing that,
Just remember, though. With that 3-way, just as the Lonely Island said, it's not gay if it's in a 3-way.
All right. Well, that's a great note to end it on. So thank you for watching. Thank you for joining. We do appreciate you guys. Give us some of your time. We will be back next week. Like I said, same bad time, same bad channel. Talk about the go home for Wrestle Dream. In the meantime, as always, leave a comment down below. Hit us up on Twitter at Spotfest. Caress gently. Just gently caress. Like and subscribe buttons down below. And we will see you next week. Jamie, bring us home.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. 7, 7, 7 for any of my friends, fans out there. Anyway, if you're not down till Spotfest, I got 3 words for you right in the middle. Claudio sucks eggs.
Make the shirt.
Peace.